which is Waltz with Bashir. Now, you didn't see this movie, Nuansay, and to be honest with you, after I watched it, I didn't really want you to anyway, because I knew this isn't the kind of thing you would like. This is the Israeli film, and I've got notes here, so this is going to be a solo thing, people. I'll just read what my experiences are with this. Waltz with Bashir is a 2008 Israeli animated documentary film written and directed by Ari Folman. The animation was produced by, Bridget Folman Film Gang, Les Films CC, and Razor Film Productions. Again, these are all known-name Israeli production companies. The film depicts Ari Folman searching for his lost memories as a soldier in the 1982 Lebanese War, if I'm pronouncing that right. Ari Folman was a 19-year-old infantry soldier in the Israeli Defense Forces, and at present day, the story starts in present day. He suffers from nightmares connected to his experiences in the period. Throughout the movie, he meets fellow soldiers who were with him, and he's trying to recount the events that happened in that period, because it was really traumatic for him. Ari remembers that he was part of the group that sent flares up, exposing the hiding civilians in the Lebanese War, and that's why he's having the nightmares. Politics aside, apart from the animation being good quality, it was just an overly grim and kind of stagnant feeling war story. The animation was really tricky, by the way. The animation, it was like, for anyone who's seen Street Fighter 4, with that kind of 3D cell, I don't even know what it's called, cell shading type of animation. It looks really good, but it's a little bit stiff. The film took about 4 years to make, apparently. It's done with a process where the drawings are made over real actors, which is called rotoscoping. A film that's done this is that film with Keanu Reeves, A Scanner Darkly. So it looks like the Street Fighter kind of animation from Street Fighter 4, but it's more like, real people with animation thrown on top of them. It took 4 years to make, because apparently it's a very expensive film to make, and that's saying something for an Israeli film, since, they're not the richest society on the earth. It won numerous Golden Globes for Best Foreign Language Film. It won the NSFC Award for Best Film, a Caesar Award for Best Foreign Film, an IDA Award for Feature Documentary, and it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Film, and a BAFTA Award for Best Film Not in English Language. And then,
interesting.
And then Annie Award for Best Animated Movie. Finally, the film is officially banned in Lebanon, where the film is actually about. Look, let me just give you the shorts, these people. It's nice to see, animation telling different stories, even, as a documentary. It's a good concept, it's a good idea. But the movie is depressing, the movie is boring. I saw it in English dub, by the way. There is an English dub available for it, but it's really hard to find, which is odd. And the guy, it's just about a guy. I know it's based on real events, so people are like, oh, how can you say that? This shit really happened, man. The movie ends showing you real footage. It transitions from seeing people getting blown up in the animated form to people getting blown up. It's a really depressing movie. I know it won a lot of awards. I really commend the producers, the writers, the creators for trying to tell a real life story in animation. And, again, be careful what you wish for. I said I wanted to see animation do different things, and it's cool to see them do this. But in terms of a story, it's just dry and depressing. And to be perfectly honest with you, if I want to see this kind of thing, I'd rather just watch a real life documentary. Seeing it in animation didn't make any difference, to be honest. It just didn't for me. It's a really depressing movie. It's an acquired taste. And I wouldn't recommend this to people. If you're interested in this, watch a real documentary. Seeing it in an animated form was disturbing, to be perfectly honest with you. So, that's really what I have to say about that, Nuansay.
I am so happy I didn't watch it, because I don't need that in my head. Barefoot again was so traumatic for me as it was, and seeing it in the anime, and it's one of those animes that I like to give to people to let them see that animation is not just Powerpuff Girls or whatever.
For kids!
Yeah, for kids, exactly. So, if the one you're talking about right now seems a little bit too horrific for me, so no thank you, please.
Now, do you want to know the most ironic thing about this?
Go ahead.
The next title we're talking about is, in my mind, a better way to approach a similar subject. The next movie we're moving on to, the third one, is Persepolis.
Yeah.
And let's see, Persepolis is a 2007 French-American animated film based on Marjane Sarapi's autobiographical, if I'm saying that right, autobiographical, that's it,
Yeah.
autobiographical graphic novel of the same name. The film was written and directed by Sarapi herself and Vincent Paranodut. I'm not messing that up. The film was produced and animated by an American company, the Kennedy Marshall Company, which have worked in partnership with Walt Disney, DreamWorks, and Paramount Pictures for a number of years. The story is an autobiographical film about Marjane's younger days growing up in Iran during a time of social unrest and political change in the mid to late 1970s. The story follows Marjane as she's growing up as a quirky fanboy, moving from Iran to Austria, then back to Iran again when she gets older. And we see her go through her personal life, social changes with the countries that she moves to, her observations of her surroundings. And yeah, that's the basic storyline. And the film drew considerable criticism and heat from the Iranian government before its debut in the 2007 Cannes Film Festival, apparently making Iran look very bad. So it's very similar to the last movie. I mean, these Middle Eastern countries, they obviously don't like autobiographical movies showing the worst times in their history for good reason. No one wants to relive the hash, but at the same time, when you're banning these movies and saying, it's just bullshit. But anyway, you want to say, first of all, what did you think of the animation? I know you saw this a while ago, by the way, so it might be a little bit harder to recall, but...
Well, I like the animation because it was fresh, you know? And it was... I don't know what to call it, though.
It was a comic style.
It was like a graphic novel kind of style, wasn't it?
Yeah, very, very similar.
It kind of reminded me of Shadow Puppets. Can I say that? Like, you remember Shadow Puppets? You know, because it was quite flat.
Yeah. And
things happened behind the scene and things like that. Most of the movie, if I remember correctly, was in black and white.
Yes.
They were talking about the past. And then I believe that stuff that was happening in the present day was in colour. And I think it really worked with the style of the animation that a lot of it was in black and white, because the characters had this thick outline to them. The way they were drawn, there was a lot of thickness to the outline of the drawings. Does that make sense?
No. Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah. It was like someone had just got a felt tip pen and just
drew them
in a sense and stuff like that. So, and the emotions were quite,
the expressions?
Their facial expressions were, you couldn't really see them as much. It wasn't drawn that way for you to see like the facial expressions, except for the eyes and maybe the mouth and blah, blah, blah. So, in general, yeah, I really, really like that animation. It kind of hit home to me because of the way that it was drawn, in a sense. It kind of evoked that feeling of oppression, in a sense, that you feel when you're watching the movie. So yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was well done, and it worked with the story.
Yeah, it had the graphic novel style, which was really cute. It seemed like it was done on purpose that way. My only criticism with the movie is, because the majority of it is in black and white, like 90%. But when she would flash forward, because she was telling the movie in retrospect, it would be in colour. Once you see it in colour, you kind of wish the whole movie was in colour.
I disagree.
You didn't when we first watched. That's what you said. The same thing after we watched it the first time.
Did I?
Yeah, but because you don't see the movie in colour for so long, when you do see it, it's a bit of a shock. It's like, oh, okay. You could have done it in colour. I think
I have to watch it again to see if I get that feeling. But maybe because most of it was in black and white, that's all I can remember mostly is the black and white. And I can't remember the reaction of the colour. But I can see how it would probably no one can see my hand movements right now, but I'm moving my hand from left to right. But I can see how it would probably be a little bit of a shock, and then you would probably think, why wouldn't you do it all in colour? Because it looks so good in colour. But like I said, because there is looking back on it, I'm feeling like because there is a certain level of oppression that she's trying to evoke through the animation, it being in black and white, and some of the scenes that were in black and white kind of worked.
I kind of wish the whole movie was in black and white. I don't even know why they bothered.
You wish it was in black and white, not in colour?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish it just stuck to it, because when I saw the colour, the 10% there was, I wanted to see more
of it.
So in that case, just don't do without. And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to do that thing, in the movie where you do a flashback, you don't use colour, but I'm like...
Do you know what the animation reminded me of?
What?
Pink Panther.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's what the animation is. It is exactly in a way like the Pink Panther.
Yeah, like the old Pink Panther cartoons. Yeah, it was.
Exactly it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, well, anyway, I did like the animation, but more importantly, let's talk, actually, before we get into that, let's quickly talk about the sound. I really actually liked the soundtrack for this and the voice acting, even though we didn't see it in English. Yeah. There is an English dub. Let me check here. The English dub is actually done by some A-list actors. Do I have it on my notes here?
Oh, let me see if I can find it. Sean Penn played the father.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop played the uncle. And Gina Rowlands played the grandmother.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There was it got a really good English dub that we never saw. But anyway, they had great soundtrack because they were playing some music from the 70s and 80s in the flashback. And the voice acting was good. She's a character. Marjane is a character, and her character comes through in her voice acting as well. I'm not sure if she voiced the character herself in the actual animation.
No.
Anyway, the sound was good. I don't really have a lot to say about it because there isn't much to say, to be honest with you. It was good. Overall, I enjoyed the sound.
Yeah. I agree. No, I didn't really have a problem with it at all. Yeah. All
right. Well, moving on to, let's combine the characters and story again. This is the heart of the movie for me. The characters and the story. You see, the last movie was talking about WALTZ with Bashir. They were telling a story about a very sensitive time in the Albanian War. In this movie, they have similar themes. There's some really horrible things happen in this movie. There's deaths and there's war going on, but she does it in a more, sorry to say, in a lighter tone. But she doesn't take anything away from the seriousness of it, for me.
I think the thing is with the other movie that you're talking about, it's different when it's somebody's one experience, and that guy went through that experience, and then he had flashbacks from what you're telling me in regards to how it affected his psyche. I think the thing with this one is that we're looking at people's day-to-day life and how it didn't only affect her, it's just how her whole country was affected and how everybody around had to behave and things like that. So I think maybe, even though I haven't seen the movie you're talking about, maybe that's why it was more relatable in a sense than... I agree
to a point to what you're saying, but to give more credit to Marjane, I think the movie was about her first and foremost.
Yeah, it was about her, definitely.
And I think she did a good job of telling things from her perspective in a way that I could meld with better than I've seen depressing movies before that have drawn me in. The Waltz with Bashir didn't draw me. It was really done in a really slow paced way. Obviously, with this movie here, it was more. There was a bit more comedy. It was a lot more light-hearted, but it did have serious elements in there of heartbreak, of war, and stuff like that. And I just think overall, she just did a better job. The story did a better job of bringing me into it, you know?
Yeah.
Even though it's not as horrible and dark as the last movie.
Well, yeah, the gruesomeness that obviously you felt in the other movie that you watched is not in this. But for me, as a female, watching Marjane talk about her experience was really touching to me. It was nice because I don't know if are we talking about the characters?
Yeah, character and story.
Yeah, character and story. So it was nice that we got to she set a good foundation in a sense for us to understand her family, how things went, how people were. So you really got a good sense of the environment that they were living in. But for me, what was the most poignant thing that I found watching that movie that I never really thought of before is that the strength of the females and Marjane herself. In the movie, there's actually one situation where, there's more than one situation where she tries to stand up for the people. Like I think there's a bit where, and this isn't really I don't know if it's a spoiler. No, it's not really a spoiler, but there's a bit where I think a police officer or something is telling her that she has to go home or she has to cover her head or something, and she's still standing up for herself and saying, why don't you go and bother somebody else, or blah, or is it I can't remember what it is exactly. Maybe what she's wearing is not long enough, or some nonsense.
I have to say, sorry to cut you there, but I have to say, the thing I like about this movie as well, it's got a feminist feel to it, and as a guy, it drew me in though. You know, it's a woman, because obviously, like you just said, there's a lot of stuff with wear the scarf, and she's trying to show her sexuality in the movie. She talks about being a tomboy and being sexual and dating and relationships, stuff like that.
And her family, and it was good because you saw that her mum and her dad, because you kind of I think what's good about this movie is that you kind of have a better understanding that not all people believed or felt that what the Iranian government were doing were right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not all people agreed in wearing the hijab and whatever else. You know, and a lot of people were living behind the mask.
Exactly.
Excuse the pun, in a sense, and were trying to get on with their life and, you know, have parties, listen to westernized music, or, you know, have a boyfriend, or blah, blah, blah. And there was such a strong oppressive nature. And for her parents as well, dad and mother, to still try and bring her up with to have that kind of strength and values to, you know, take care of yourself and do what you want to do, but be careful. Trying to bring her up and not trying to bring the sexist elements of what was happening in the country. Do you know what I mean? In Iran and stuff. It was really, really interesting, you know, and the fact that I think you saw a strength of will in her and in the people, the Iranians, that I hadn't seen before, to tell you the truth. There's always been stories about oppression and let's feel sorry and, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you didn't get to see that strength. And you know what it reminds me of? And what's that film with Tom Cruise? You know what I'm like?
Well, Valkyrie.
You know what I say? It reminds me a bit of
when he's trying to take down Hitler.
Yeah, because you know, you see the Germans.
Yeah.
It shows you that, hello, there were Germans that were not for
It shows you a new perspective. Yeah. It's not just one dimensional.
Exactly. It shows you that there were people in Germany that did not want weren't dealing with Hitler. They didn't like what he was doing, and they tried to stand up. For that regime. And in this, I kind of felt like that as well, because I kind of saw that. Hold on a minute. Not all the women were like scared in their house
and timid.
Like when they were out, they covered their head. When they came in their house, they threw that thing in the corner,
and they were partying and dancing.
This is nonsense. But we have to do it, and to the point where, you know, her parents were such good parents to me that they decided that they were going to try and. They
sent her away to keep her away from all the political things going on in the country as well.
So bad, but you see, the good thing is as well. They still loved their country because they didn't they sent her away to the point where they thought, look, you really can't live here that much longer. Not because they just wanted to escape, which is what, especially in England, I don't know about anywhere else, but in England, they love to give us that feeling that people just come over here and they just want to escape and they don't want to go back to their own country. They don't love their country. Do you know what I mean? So I like the idea of that as well. And that actually went through the whole movie. Even when she went to other countries, you could tell. And her fight, and there's so much to talk about the movie that was good. I don't want to go.
Well, you know what? Let me help you wrap this up by saying one of the best parts of the movie is people. It's so easy to get into. It appeals. It's one of those movies that will just bring you in. You don't have to like Iranian, you don't have to be some political fanatic to want to watch this movie. I didn't know what this movie was about. When I watched it, it was just a cool animated movie that opened my eyes to a situation in the country that I wasn't really aware of. And, you know, a lot of our misconceptions of Iran, you know, and like you just said, what we think the people are like, you know, people just think, timid, women are the same and just hide behind their burqas or whatever. And then, you know, it was an eye-opener. It was a great movie, and I'm giving this a first class, easy.
Yeah, to me, it's a definite first class. And like you said, you don't have to be an activist to get into this. It's good because it not only talks about oppression, but it talks about family, love, and it talks about finding yourself as a female. I can relate, but as a human being, it talks about having your own strength of character, finding who you are and what you want to do, and finding strength wherever you go, whatever country you are. It's being true to yourself.
And to me, it was more of a light-hearted comedy anyway. It has a light-hearted comedy feel for the majority of the movie.
I don't know if I didn't see it. I didn't see it as light-hearted. I didn't see it as a light-hearted comedy. In a sense,
I thought she was being very sarcastic through the most of the movie.
She was strong,
and I think she was being very comedic about things as well.
There are points where she had to be. That's what you say. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It was a great movie, and yeah, you guys should check it out. The dub was so hard to. I never found an English dub of this, even though
it wasn't hard to. Was it hard to watch?
No, it wasn't. We already agreed.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying, would I have preferred the dub if I had it? If I knew that I could spend half an hour getting the dub, but nah, it was fine.
Nah, it's fine. It's recommended in sub, is what we're saying.